Wow. Oh, that took longer than usual. We might have a little delay this morning. Tech is going to roll with us. We're going to roll with the tech.
Oh, yes.
Welcome
Thank you.
to a soul connection call. Let's just go ahead and leap in and orient ourselves. So, if you would not mind introducing yourself, I'll introduce myself, and then we'll
Yes.
have a conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, Safrianna. So, my name is Morgana Marie. I am in Hertfordshire in the UK. And I'm a transformational creation facilitator and belief shifter. And I dive into the realms of spirituality and sensuality and all of the yummy goodnessness. So,
Mm,
yeah, that's me.
I love that description. It's so beautiful, and I can feel the energy in that
Mm,
offering. I'm Safrianna Luna, the queer spirit guide, and I am here to uplift the others of the world in whatever way I can by shining my light. I am co founder of a brand called Living Luna, which literally our slogan is uplifting the others. So we are just here to celebrate each other's unique differences and connect people with the right services that are meant for them, that honor them. S-
yes.
So, Morgana, I was just delighted when we met on socials. We had like a very synchronistic sort of meeting. We had a conversation. We were like, let's just hop on a call and talk.
Yeah.
And you immediately put out this topic of spirituality and sensuality. And I was like, tell me
Mm.
more.
Mhm.
So I love this idea of this conversation. I'd love for you to just orient us to what do those words mean for you? What do you mean when you talk about spirituality and sensuality?
Yeah, thank you. So it's actually about the divine union and dance between the two. So, in order to be a spiritual, conscious being, we really, I feel, and this is my truth, and I don't know who resonates with this, um, we must be connected to our sensuality and our sensualness, which is our creativity, our creation, our energy, our soul energy, our creation energy. And once we have embodiment of that, that's when we can create our reality and feel joy and bliss in our bodies and feel alive and a sense of bliss and ecstasy in our life. It's very a spiritual union between the two. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the elements. I love elemental symbolism. And of course, fire is the energy of sensuality, sexuality, creativity. And as somebody who has specialized with and identifies as queer, like
Mm.
I've really worked with people that are on all sorts of different spectrums, right?
Mm.
And I get this question a lot of like, well, does sensuality have to be sexual? And no, it can be creative. And I hear that and how you're wording it. Like it is a creative process, and that can be physical with
Mm.
body, or it can be physical with art or dance or just being in the pleasure of something.
Absolutely, yeah. Sensualness is like the expression of that energy, and however we do that, whether it's through connecting to your body, through movement, like you say, or art and creating something, photography. It's like being able to move with that energy through your body. It's not really. It's actually about receiving as well. Like when we are fully in our sensualness, we are fully receiving all of life.
Mm,
We are open and we are receptive and we are in touch with everything that is.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Just this being in the flow of life. It is the life force, that energy moving through us. And whether you are moving that life force through you in a, again, body to body way, or a body to transmutation of energy, of literally moving something through you, like that doesn't matter. But if you stagnate to the point where you're not in tune with these parts of yourself, life
Mm.
gets very dull.
It does. And then you cut off your creativity, and the creativity cuts off your receiving, and then your abundance is cut off. So, where we cut ourselves off, where there's blockages in our energy, there's a lot of shame attached to us being sensual. Where we're holding that in our bodies, where we're restricting ourselves and constricting our life and what we can experience as well.
Yeah, can you say more about that? I, I
Mm.
just feel like there's so much more for you to share there.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes. So, a lot of the work that I do is diving deep into the shadow aspects of ourselves. So
Hmm.
this is like the repressed, numbed out, ignored, avoided, defended parts of ourselves that we hold shame around or there's judgment around. And it could be to do with our body, it could be to do with some experience we've had as a child, it could be to do with some sort of sexual trauma or something. It doesn't always have to be massive, but there could be this something, and we've repressed it. And the more we avoid it and defend it and repress it and numb it down, the more we're like kind of shutting our sensual energy down and our creative potential down, our capacities to feel, and be in tune and be alive in our senses, because we're not feeling safe in our bodies to experience
Yes.
life and
Yes.
sensuality.
Oh my gosh, so powerful for people to hear. And this is,
Yeah.
I do shadow work with people as well. I'm getting ready. We're launching, we're gathering authors for a book right now called Shadow Alchemy, because we're
Oh,
literally in the shadow alchemy like phase right now, and we're going into this what's called the Witch's New Year, for those of you who know about the Wheel of the Year. But witchcraft aside, the wheel of the year is literally our rhythm, our
yes.
planetary rhythm. And where we're at least in the northern hemisphere right now, is this move towards Samhain, which is Halloween or All Saints Day,
Mm,
or all of these little holidays that have collected over the years.
yeah,
And that is a time of sort of going into the shadow, literally going into the shadow to start to introspect and figure out, like, what am I taking with me into the dark season and what am I letting go?
absolutely. Yes. Yes. And a lot of us, I mean, I used to be terrified of being in touch with that side of myself. Because it's like, you are literally being, you're kind of in the darkness, although, you can find so much healing and bliss and aliveness in the darkness. So it's
Hmm.
not something to be scared of or afraid of. And I
No.
really encourage people to go there and be present with it and realize actually you're so potent and powerful to play there and dance there and acknowledge what is there.
Yeah.
And it's so freeing, liberating too, be in that energy. It's also heavy and it also can be really tough. And yes,
Yes.
it's painful at times. It is. But in order to experience life, we must experience everything there is, I believe. Um,
Yes, I do
you
too.
yeah, yeah. So I love that. I love that what you're offering as well. I just music to my ears.
Well, on my other shadow offering right now, this is just all, it's so fun looking at divine timing of things when we just trust the universe and we go with.
Yes.
It's like suddenly all the symbolism and all the synchronicities are there. So I published with the same person that I'm going to be doing the shadow alchemy project with. We did a project called Soul Alchemy, and I wrote a chapter called Becoming the Butterfly. And it's literally about my life phases through the caterpillar and what I consumed in my journey, all the junk, right? All the trauma,
Mm,
the lessons that were not actually for me. And then we have this like dark night of the soul. We go into the chrysalis and we go, ooh, do I want this to be my definition of self? And then we transmute in the shadows when we're there with it, like
mm,
intimately in the shadows. And then we emerge as a butterfly, and our wings are still flimsy and we're kind of figuring it out. So we kind of
yeah.
have a vision. And then over time, we build the strength of our wings up. And I think that is the journey we're all on. And the fun synchronicity is that chapter was published back in May, I think. And I
Okay.
wanted to do this whole immersion experience, and guiding people through this journey. And I did this whole launch for it, and it just didn't go anywhere. And then I
Mm.
ended up rebirthing it. I got the date, and we launched on Friday the 13th, October
Oh
13th,
wow.
with the
I
with that
love
new
it.
moon eclipse energy.
Yeah.
And we're in this caterpillar week right now, and every single participant, myself included, is having these huge, like, going into, oh wow, as a child, this is what I consumed trauma, I consumed abuse, I consumed neglect, I consumed, whatever.
Mm.
And all of us, no matter how much personal work all of us have done in this group, all of us are circling back around to do another deeper layer of it. And that's something that, like, in this dance, this divine union, our spirituality, our sensuality, part of that dance is that we're always going to circle back around to the beginning, and we're going to have to go dance with the shadows again and again and again.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm literally going for this right now too. And it's heavy,
It
but it's
is.
also like, oh my god, really? Another layer. I thought I'd deal with this. I thought I'd deal with this. I thought I'd deal
Yes.
with this. Bring it on. And then I get in my
Hmm.
power again. I'm like, bring it on.
I feel you. And that's what it is. And I think it's so great we're having this conversation because people need to hear that. Like,
Yeah.
doing the shadow work and feeling all of these emotions, like bringing all this shadow stuff to the surface,
Mm,
it's not easy. And there's some people that are like, oh, you just have to have a positive mindset around it, like they want to
mm,
bypass the gritty, but there's
mm.
growth in the gritty.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to get so high vibe that we can't access these other emotions. We're just trying to open our capacity to feel all of them.
All of it. Yes, we mustn't bypass it in any way. As soon as we bypass it, we this is when we're kind of numbing, repressing, avoiding, and then we go back. We have to deal with it like as more intensely. And so it's something that I feel that once we start to acknowledge that and sit with it and acknowledge it, and like we're in that energy of like we're powerful, more powerful than that. We're more powerful than our trauma experiences, and we realise that, oh wow, it's okay to feel it all. It's okay to feel all of it and experience all of it and not attached to it and just, like you say, you've got this lovely, beautiful butterfly opening its wings and, finding its way. And that is literally like the analogy of like spiritual living life, I feel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah. So. And the deep stuff, the deep stuff in terms of, it does bring a lot of our past experiences up, and especially in with the sensual side and the sexual side, and that is something that I feel we must really be brave and courageous to explore. There was still a time when I didn't explore it, so I get it, and we don't explore it, and we just sort of like avoid it. But the more you avoid it, the more it's coming at you. So,
Yep. It's like when I was a trauma therapist, I talked a lot about this analogy with clients. It's totally applicable regardless of whether you're in therapy or not. We all
mm,
experience this. I would use this analogy that, like, we all dissociate things, right? We get uncomfortable with them and we kind of pop them off and we're like, I'm not going to look at that. And that's not an issue if
mm,
we are doing that and we go, oh, I can't look at this right now. I'm going to pop it off. Okay, now it's 5 hours later. I have time and capacity. I'm going to pop it back in and feel it. But that's
yeah,
not what we do for the most part. We go pop, 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 pop,
yeah,
pop, right? And then it's sort of like shoving these shoe boxes in the basement.
mm,
And we're like, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to look at that. And eventually the basement overflows with shoe boxes and you go to cram another one in there and you have a straight up meltdown
oh my
because
god,
all of them are tumbling out of the basement at you while you're trying to shove another one in there. We don't want to get to that point.
no,
That's not
no.
fun. I've
No,
been
that is
there.
not fun. And this is something to like, yeah, empower people to know that once you have awareness around it, to just, connect with that. Because the more you don't connect with it or you don't acknowledge it, this is what happens. And you don't need to go through that pain, suffering, and grief to that level.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
be kind to yourself, kind to your body. Also, listen to your body more. Like, what's your body telling you? I believe that the more we are in tune with our bodies, our sensual energy, the more like we are able to listen, the more we can hear, the more we can acknowledge as well. Something that I've certainly become more aware of over the years. Um, I'm more connected and more like aware of energies and more aware of my emotions because I'm more in my body as well.
Yes.
So that's something that can take some time to integrate. But yeah,
And that's an important thing. Like, many of us don't have body awareness
Mm.
I'll say currently, or at some point, right? Because we have done that dissociation over and over and over again, and we haven't been able to make the link. So I just want to validate that you might not have connection to your body yet.
Yes.
And that is what we have to develop in order to get this awareness system online.
Yeah.
Because part of our ability to understand our triggers, right, is literally being able to say, oh, wow, I felt a certain sensation in my body, and that told me that this is the response I'm having. So if we're missing that awareness, we're
Yeah.
only catching maybe one layer of it. We might catch like an emotional feeling,
Mm.
but that's only half of the information, if that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
How did you begin your journey of coming into deep awareness of your body and like your signals?
Yeah. So I actually went on a yoga teacher training course like 5 years ago. I thought I was just going to go and be learning how to be a yoga teacher. It definitely wasn't just learning how to be a yoga teacher, was it? You know, get lay down, get in touch with your body, with this lovely yoga nidra practice. And I had this scream and this roar. And I don't know where this was coming from. I could not stop screaming. My body was shaking. I don't know what was going on. Luckily, I had all my teachers around me and people in the space to facilitate this clearing and mass release, that was trauma release that was coming out. That was literally the first time I ever experienced anything like that. That was the first moment I really got in touch with like my trauma, and I wasn't aware of what was coming up at the time, but I was then able to process it. And that course literally opened my body physically. Like this was stored in the muscles, this trauma was stored in the body, and it was through opening the muscles and through this like layered practice of nidra, I was able to release and become aware of how much I
Beautiful.
was holding on to to change my life.
Yes.
That whole course, and it's just developed
Wow.
since. Yeah. So don't be freaked out by yoga, guys. I'm not saying this is, that doesn't happen to everyone, but that was my first experience of it, and I was able to safely connect back to my body. I had the tools, I had the people around me to be able to, yeah, come back and, yeah,
Well,
process what I needed to process.
yeah, you listed right there like a tool and a support system
Yeah,
and yourself being willing to go into it, right? So people can do this in dance, they can do it in
yeah,
a journal practice, they can do it in therapy, they can do it in somatic therapy, they can do it in equine assisted therapy. It doesn't really matter what tool we use as long as it's the right tool for us and we have a
absolutely.
support system to use it.
Yes, yes, 100%, 100%. I, yeah, and like you say, before that, I wasn't ready or willing to see that because if it was going to happen, then it would have happened, right? So, I felt safe enough around the people that was facilitating that space, being able to clearly let go of whatever needed to be let go of. So yeah, it's you do have to have the support, I believe. Going on the healing journey on your own is really tough. I've tried it far too long. You do seeking help and support is so empowering to be seen, to be witnessed, to be heard, to be held.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I love that we're having this conversation. I'm actually writing a piece right now about how so many healers don't seek help
Oh
because
yes.
they get all of these stories in their heads. Like, and I mean, I've witnessed several of the stories when I was in training to be a therapist.
Mm,
There was another therapist in training in the room that said, like, well, I've never been to therapy myself, and I don't want to go to therapy because that's admitting I'm broken. And I was like, whoa, full stop. Why are you being a therapist then? Like,
yeah,
nope,
yeah,
you're in this for the wrong reasons. And it was
completely.
that like I'm being a healer to bypass my own stuff.
Yes. Oh my God, that happens so many. I see it so much, so much, so
It's
much.
very common,
Very common.
unfortunately.
Yeah, no healers
And
taking the full capacity for their own healing. So it's like, well, how far
yes.
can you go with people? Because it's going to keep coming back at you if you're not doing it yourself. And there's only so far
Hmm.
you can really go with people, you know.
And our clients can only go as far as we go because if
Yes,
we're their guide, we can only guide them as far along the road as we've gone.
yes,
That just makes
absolutely.
sense when you think
Yeah,
about it.
it does. It does. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like authentic facilitation from your own embodiment, your own personal experience, So I personally have, experienced when I have shifted something or I've worked on something, like someone would then come to me like a couple of weeks later with the same thing that I just like literally cleared 2 weeks ago, and I was like, I wouldn't have been able to necessarily facilitate that maybe then because I wasn't aware of it, and now I am, and it's just amazing. I love it. I love how that happens as well. So yeah, more awareness creates more people being able to then come to us, so we can help more people as well. But we
Yes.
must do the work on ourselves. We must, because otherwise we're not living in alignment really with what we're doing, authenticity.
Yeah, I mean, you're using all my words. This is what I preach all day, every day, pretty much, is like authenticity, do the work on yourself first. Like that
Yes.
has a huge ripple effect. And, going back to our theme of the divine union,
Mm,
even just thinking about this here, a union requires more than one being, right?
yeah.
To come together.
Yeah.
And this divine union is so multidimensional. I love so I go to a unity church. Unity, if
Oh,
people aren't familiar with it, I say it's kind of like Christianity and paganism had a baby,
no,
where
wow.
instead of seeing Jesus Christ as God, the God, we see
Yeah.
Jesus Christ as the way shower,
Okay.
teaching us about our divinity. So it's a
Wow.
little nuanced, a little different. But the cross, everything in the Bible that unity looks at is metaphysical or metaphorical, which I
Mm,
love because I'm like, everything's stories to me, right? It's
yeah.
stories trying to
Yeah.
teach us.
Yeah.
And the cross symbolizes the cross between divinity and humanity, and that all of us are that cross between divinity and humanity.
Yeah.
And so when I think of the divine union, I think of the cross between divinity and humanity in each of us, but then also the divine union that, sort of the namaste, right? The divine
Yeah.
in me sees the divine in you.
Mm,
That is when we have union, is when we're truly able to see all levels of one another.
yes. Yes. Yeah. You put that really beautifully. Absolutely. And this is why I believe and I kind of know that the healing that is one like you say when you're working with a client or whoever it is, even when the more like I really realised something recently about working more as a group and seeing each other, sharing vulnerably. There's a power in that, and there's a beauty in that, and that's so healing in itself. I kind of didn't I underestimated that before. I was like, no,
Mhm.
people really need one to one. Like it's really powerful. Like I didn't see beyond that. But then when I realised, like seeing more people together, and that I literally talking, and I'm seeing this healing happening right in front of me, and I was just like, wow, like we need more of this. This is beautiful, like divine union of eye to eye, heart to heart, soul to soul.
Yes.
So yeah, absolutely, it's so needed for that shift, that paradigm shift, that healing
Yeah.
transformation.
And I think another big paradigm shift that we need is I'm literally writing a book about this and I'm struggling to find the words. So maybe I'll find some of the words right now, but I'm
Yeah,
literally writing this book called Balancing the Cosmic Divine, the divine
okay.
union right within us. But we need a paradigm shift societally because using the terms divine masculine and divine feminine
Mm,
has been oversimplified to
yeah,
the point where people are like, just ships passing in the night. We're not understanding that this has nothing to do with gender or sex or chromosomes or anything. It has everything to do with energy.
yeah,
And for any union of two people to be
yeah,
truly a divine union, it
yeah.
requires that each person, that each being, has this balance inside themselves, this divine union inside themselves.
Absolutely. Regardless of what body you're in, like you say, whatever sex you are, that's irrelevant because if that person isn't balanced, then well, there's kind of carnage, and you know, it can be
There's,
very like
there's kind of carnage. Yeah, that's a great way to describe it, honestly.
you know.
Honestly.
But part of acknowledging and knowing how energy works is something that I believe we all should learn about. But yes, I think it's been oversimplified and confused, and misdirected in the wrong way, or people just interpret it in that polarity, and it just causes a lot of confusion. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. They don't even like the term sort of phrase so much. They don't. Yeah, it's a weird energy.
it
Because it's like
is.
separate, it's like separation. It's like the ultimate. It's not separation. It's to do with the union. And I think a
The
lot of
union.
people are trying to separate it, or yeah, there's this like separation energy with it. It's
We
not
have
the
a
case.
lot of separation energy in our societies right
Yeah,
now. A
yeah,
lot, and that's like I
yeah,
said in my introduction, my brand Living Luna is about uplifting the others because we believe that we all rise together, and when we
yeah.
celebrate each other's differences, we can come together. But that's not society on the whole right now at all.
Um,
Society's very like, please fit into these boxes,
hmm.
check down the list neatly, right? Don't try and rock the boat or, do whatever. Don't do you, do society,
Oh
conform.
yes, oh yes, oh
That
yes.
doesn't
Icky.
work for
Yes.
people like me.
Doesn't work. Doesn't work. No,
I
no.
mean, it doesn't work for anyone. The more that I get to know just like quote unquote everyday people that go down the box and they do check the list, right? The
Yes.
more that we realize like, oh, well, you actually have all these little passions and joys that you suppress because you're hiding your inner child. Again, it has nothing to do with sex and gender and sexual orientation or race or anything like that. It's these fundamental core components of who we are that society shuts down, and again, it keeps us from being fully
Mm,
embodied and sensual, fully in union with one another. It doesn't help any of us to try and
no.
do the conforming thing.
Yeah, performing, cutting off, limiting out ourselves, putting ourselves in the box of, you know, like limitation. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's getting to the point now where there are more people with this awareness that it doesn't work, and this is why I think there's so many shifts cosmically, like we were saying, on a collective level. So I do feel like there has been a huge shift, but it's still happening, and there's still stuff going on. We're not there yet. I don't think we're ever going to be there yet, but we'll keep going. People like us can, keep educating, keep empowering, inspiring, and yeah, we can only but learn about ourselves and learn what's true for us and find out actually what is true for us. It's like I actually had a conversation earlier with a client. I had to share this because he was told his whole life that he had depression, so he went on depressive antidepressants for got about like 30 years since he was the age of 18, and he bought and aligned and agreed with that. And turns out he doesn't have depression at all, he's got autism, and it's a gift. I was like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. And that's what the world needs, I think. More empowerment, to know who
Yes.
you are, what you are, about definition of boxes, labels, and all of that.
Right. And that's right there is why I personally left the medical system
Ah,
and being
okay.
a therapist, because I didn't
Mm,
like having to medicalize people's experience of
mm,
being. I wanted to get
mm,
to what do they want and how are they nourished, and to support them in a different level. And
mm,
unfortunately, again, a lot of these systems that are hooked in to the system, the
yeah,
overarching system, don't really honor and get to know a person. They try to just fit and fix as quickly as possible.
yeah, yeah.
But we don't really need fixed. We just need seen,
Seen, absolutely.
heard, received, right?
Received, non-judged. It's the big one. Yeah.
Non-judged. Yeah, yeah. That was 10 out of 10 times when I would ask, like, why did you pick me as your therapist? People would say, well, I knew you weren't going to judge me because of
Mm,
what you put out there. And so that's been very affirming to me, even as I go into more of the transformational coaching space. Is like, now I can bring even more of me, and
I
that's
love
just going
that.
to serve.
So you're more of you because you chose to be more of you from that to that, and that's why you're just embodying what you do. And I love
Mhm.
that. Oh, yes.
Yeah, and it's so cool. The more that I do that, the more I see other people
Yeah.
embodying their their authenticity. And
Yeah,
it's like, is this, am I inspiring them? Are they inspiring me? I don't know, right? But it's this beautiful feedback loop. So I'm going to keep going, keep expanding, keep growing. That's this dance we were talking about
yeah,
earlier, this flow of life.
absolutely, absolutely. And someone has to, there is a divine union between also yourself and the person who comes to you as well, because really they open up their whole self, ultimately to yourself, and you're putting down the walls and barriers to see them fully, and that's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yes.
So, oh, so glad we had this conversation. It's just lovely energy. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow, great
So
energy. Wow, just yes, can't explain it.
yeah, I mean, this is the union of people coming together and just having open dialogue. It can be simple, it can be streamlined, it can be beautiful, it can be joining. It doesn't have to be full of pain and complexity and all
Yeah,
of that all of the time.
absolutely, absolutely. We can have fun too.
We're allowed to have fun, right? Sensuality. I was gonna lead with this, and then of course there's so many good things to talk about. One of the coaches I work with, Kayla Jetta, she has this whole wealth code system, and I'm not going to teach the whole thing because it's hers, but my wealth code, my number one quality, and I had this on lockdown for 30 plus years. My number one is pleasure. That
Oh,
is how my wealth and abundance comes to me, is through pleasure, through sensuality, through like, oh, this is so tasty, or oh wow, this feels
yes.
so nice, or ooh, I'm having fun, or oh wow, that's beautiful, right? There's all these different experiences of pleasure, and when we have that on lockdown because we don't feel like we deserve pleasure, we don't deserve good things, that's not for me. If we're in that like loser mindset where we're just like, I don't ever win, nothing goes my way, then we're going to have a hard time experiencing pleasure and sensuality, and we're
Mm.
cutting ourselves off again from that vital life force. The more that I'm like playing and the more that I'm leaning into pleasure, the more things are starting to align for me. I retired less than 2 months ago from being a therapist, so it's
Wow.
only been 2 months that I've been like, I can do that now.
Yeah,
And it's like a slow going. Yeah.
come out. What can you come out with?
It's like I'm slowly leaning into pleasure and being me again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, everything is just expanding so much more quickly because I'm actually in
Mm,
that sensuous flow with the universe again. So
mm.
it's very, very cool
That's
to see.
beautiful. Yes, yes, exactly. Very aligned in that way too. When I shut my pleasure off, when I shut my joy off, and my bliss off, my whole life just like closes and shuts down and everything. And that's something I've realised over the last sort of 3, 4 years. Just like I've seen patterns when I've not been in my power, I've not been like tuned into my body as much, and I'm like, what is going on? Oh wow, there's like diminishment of me happening here. Oh, there's diminishment of my business. Oh, there's diminishment of my abundance. Oh, okay, now I get it. And actually talking to the body so it's safe to open. And I had to do it the other day. I was having a bit of a day, and I was like, it's okay, it's safe to open, safe to
Mhm.
receive, safe to feel and sense. And it's having this constant communion with our bodies.
Yes. That's a beautiful way to describe it. Like, it just when we can be safe to feel,
Mm,
that is really the difference, I think, for people between being stuck and not stuck, is the
yeah,
safety piece. Because sometimes people genuinely want to make a change, but they're in an environment where they, even if they make the change, the environment's going to pull them right back. So we have to get to a point where we actually feel safe enough in our nervous system to
yes,
allow the safety fully in. And so if you're not there, again, like if you're watching this and you're like, I'm nowhere there, you
yeah,
will be. You will
yeah,
be there
maybe.
eventually. And that,
Mm,
you're going to be like, holy shit, how did I get to this point where I can finally say to myself, okay, it's safe to open? But
yeah,
you have to keep moving in that direction. And
yeah,
I'm right there with you. Like we said right at the beginning, it's been a heavy shadow alchemy kind of couple of weeks, especially since the eclipse. And
yes.
that's not easy, but if we are safe, like I literally have been doing a ton of reprocessing of sexual trauma over the last 2 weeks, like
Oh,
a ton. And I've worked on this in therapy and coaching for decades at this point. And there it
mm,
was, like another layer
mm,
opening, and I'm like, okay, we're here and I'm safe. to open and see what's here. And it was like this next spiritual layer, this next energetic release. And I know it's probably going to come back in another year to 3 years, and it'll be yet another layer of release. And the more that we're aware and we accept and we're okay with that, the more we can just dance with this.
Mm,
It doesn't have to be
absolutely.
terrifying.
Yeah, we don't have to run from it or hide from it, or it doesn't have to be terrifying. Absolutely not. And I reckon, I do acknowledge, acknowledge the support is so important too. Being held, touch as well.
Hmm.
It's important. I feel not everyone likes to be touched though, so having discernment with what your body requires is really important to ask our bodies what's required
Yeah.
for our healing. Yeah,
Yeah, and that was going back to that cross, that multidimensional. There's
yeah,
the human, the divine, the
yeah,
physical, and the energetic. So your spiritual and emotional components. So you need that union between, okay, my physical body doesn't feel safe. How do
mm,
my emotions feel? Oh, well, my emotions don't feel safe right now either. Okay, well, let's just go to how can we establish safety? Let's not move forward with whatever the thing is.
yeah,
Versus like, okay, I'm feeling hope. I'm feeling, a little scared emotionally, my body is feeling a little trembly but also open, right? That's a different information because opening is never like a, oh wow, I'm so comfortable with this. It's like a,
yeah.
okay, 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 I can do this.
So a little bit on it, a little bit on a little
Yeah.
bit. And it's like, oh, I feel less armored. It's like taking off the armor, like de-armoring, literally. Take
Yeah.
off the chainmail. And bit by bit, you start to
Mm,
feel lighter in the body. That's the way you can kind of describe how
yeah.
interpreted it.
Great metaphor. I love that. Just taking off each piece of chainmail, each piece of armor, each piece of plate, just get it off.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that can be a great tool for that is the breath, right? Or
Yes.
tapping. I love, even
I
if people
love.
don't know the full tapping, I say,
Oh
like, just
yeah.
come here and, like,
Yeah.
breathe and tap your collarbones a little bit as you bring
Yes.
your emotions down to the point where you're dialing back to the point where you feel safe enough to look at it at that level.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And giving ourselves a hug, we're supposed to have like 10 hugs a day. I'm always doing this. Like,
Hmm.
I've kind of stopped judging myself for doing it now because people looking at you think you're a bit weird.
I
But
think
yeah,
that's
I'm weird.
great.
I am weird.
Be weird.
Come
Be
join
weird.
me. Come join me being weird.
Yes.
So yeah, hugging, self hug. Mm.
Self hugs can be really powerful. And I also love the practice of the like the Buddha smile or the smile just for you, where
Mm.
give yourself a hug and then just close your eyes and feel the corners of your lips just turn up. And we
Mm.
feel a lifting. We feel an emotional or an energetic lifting when we do that. It's magic. So there's all these little tools we can have to build that relationship back in with ourselves that leads to this sensuality, that leads to this creativity, that leads to the life force expanding again.
Absolutely. And don't judge yourself if you're not like, oh my god, I'm like totally sensual and I'm like totally open. It's just not happening. It's not happening like that. It's like little, like you were saying earlier, little bit by little bit by little bit by little bit. If being allowance of yourself, however long it takes. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to be fully open with your sensuality. It's constant
Well,
care.
and the nervous system is wired in such a way that if we try to move too quickly towards a new way of being, the nervous
Yeah,
system will actually go on lockdown. The limbic system freaks out
yeah,
and it makes it harder. So it's essential, at least as we get started, that we're taking these like little tiny
yeah,
steps. Because if
yeah,
you try to go full in, you will in fact get that's the fact. Like you will
yeah,
in fact get shut down. Your body is built to protect you from
yes,
trying to go all the way in,
yeah, yeah,
working
yeah.
as intended.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
So this has been such a beautiful conversation today. I'm so
Yes.
glad you agreed to come on. Is there anything else that you want to share today or any other thoughts that you want to wrap up with?
Just really ask your body what is required in the now. It's good to ask questions. What do you need? I'm a questioner with body, so just ask. Okay, what question can I ask myself to get the awareness of what my body requires? Yeah, that's pretty much it,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
Self inquiry, curiosity towards your inner experience. I
Absolutely.
love that.
Absolutely. Yes.
And
Um,
that's one of these keys. Curiosity leads to so many beautiful things.
it
So,
really does. So much awareness, so much like uh, little light bulb moments, bliss, joy, little, bursts of joy. And so, yes, invite your body to that possibility. That's what I would say.
yeah.
And yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who watched live today. I know we had several
Yes.
people watching live. If you caught the replay, just let us know. And you can continue the conversation with us however and wherever you want.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right. Have a great rest